California doctor Mark Chavez, one of 5 people charged in the overdose death of Friends star Matthew Perry, pleaded guilty on Wednesday to illegally distributing ketamine. Chavez entered the plea in U.S. District Court in Los Angeles, where he admitted to obtaining ketamine with a fraudulent prescription written for another patient, and acknowledged that the drug was intended for Perry. He could face up to 10 years in prison at his sentencing, which is scheduled for April. Another physician in the case, Dr. Salvador Plasencia, has pleaded not guilty, as has co-defendant Jasvin Sangha. Authorities say Sangha was an illicit supplier of the drug and was known as the ketamine queen. Chavez also acknowledged providing ketamine to Plasencia and that he understood it should only be administered under medical supervision with proper safety equipment nearby. According to court documents, Plasencia administered ketamine to Perry at the actor's home and supplied vials that were injected by his live-in assistant, Kenneth Iwamasa. Plasencia's lawyer has said his client properly prescribed and administered ketamine to Perry. Perry died last October from acute effects of ketamine and other factors that caused him to lose consciousness and drown in his hot tub, according to a December 2023 autopsy report. Chavez has relinquished his medical license and remains free on bond until his sentencing. He pleaded guilty under an agreement with prosecutors, who offered him lesser charges for his assistance in their case against Plasencia and Sangha.
Russian troops reached the center of Volodar on Tuesday, a regional Ukrainian official said. The town was considered a strategic bastion that had resisted Russian assaults since Moscow's full-scale invasion. So how significant is Russia's capture of Volodar? Volodar is a coal mining town in eastern Ukraine's Donetsk region. It was built by the Soviet Union in the mid-1960s and now counts 2 mines with significant coal reserves. Moscow sees taking control of Volodar as an important stepping stone. But why? The town was long regarded as one of Ukraine's toughest fortified positions to crack. Controlling it is key because it sits at the intersection of the eastern and southern battlefield fronts. Taking Volodar opens the way for Russian forces to advance on other places. Russian forces trapped Ukrainian soldiers in the town, gradually encircling them. There was no way in or out, and Ukrainian soldiers were bombarded with devastating aerial glide bombs. Russian forces had previously launched at least 4 major attempts to take Volodar. They had been repelled by Ukraine's 72nd Separate Mechanized Brigade, mounting fierce resistance. Neither side disclosed losses.
Oil prices rose on Thursday as markets worried about a potential widening conflict in the Middle East. They fear further tensions could disrupt crude oil flows from the key exporting region. Both Brent and US West Texas Intermediate crude benchmarks were up more than $1 or over 1%. Israel bombed central Beirut early Thursday, killing at least 6 people. Its forces saw their deadliest day on the Lebanese front in a year of clashes against Iran-backed armed group Hezbollah. The strike on Beirut happened a day after Iran fired more than 180 ballistic missiles at Israel in an escalation of hostilities. One leading analyst warned investors will look out for any upcoming Israeli response. They added the question for oil now is whether Iran's energy infrastructure will be in Israel's sights. The Middle East tensions overshadowed a stronger global supply outlook. US officials said crude inventories rose by 3.9 million barrels to 417 million barrels in the week ended September 27th, well above forecasts. One analyst said growing US inventories added to evidence the market is well supplied and can withstand any disruptions.
This is a rare experience, to possibly see the eye of the typhoon at just more than 20 years old. I wouldn't say I'm excited because there will be lots of damage and I hope the damage won't be too severe. But we can't control nature. So when there is such an opportunity, everyone can see what a typhoon is like.
Tens of thousands of people in North Carolina did not have running water on Wednesday. It's been 6 days since Hurricane Helene carved a path through the U.S. South, killing scores of people. Now, residents of hard-hit Asheville have been warned to expect dry faucets for days or even weeks while pipes are repaired. Search and rescue teams have been helping to deliver water and comb through wreckage for the missing. Paul Tarter is the leader of the federal FEMA team at Texas A&M Task Force 1.
This is obviously a major disaster. It really affects everybody here, especially the locals that are impacted. It's beyond anything I've ever seen.
Survivors in the town of Canton, west of Asheville, have been left to pick up the pieces of lives ruined. Martika Stansel and her family are taking stock of what's left.
That was my son's room. He lost everything. Everything below the waist was a loss. We have got to rebuild everything. Our floors are bad. My kids lost everything. We're waiting on FEMA to approve our application to hopefully get a hotel voucher. We're staying at my mom's right now, but like 8 people in a 2-bedroom house. It's super crowded. Yeah, with 4 dogs too.
Ashley Wells, another resident of Canton, says no one there expected how bad Helene got.
Well, out of all the floods that have come through here in the 71 and 73 years they've lived here, it never came up past the front step of the house. This one came through the house. So it was unexpected. I mean, we were not told it was going to be worse than Fred. Fred was like the disaster here. So really nobody was that prepared. We haven't seen FEMA, we haven't seen Red Cross, we haven't seen Hearts with Hands, we've seen no agencies come through here. Most people drive through with their cameras out, filming us like we're animals in a zoo, and don't stop. You've got some nice people that are stopping, but majority, no. We've seen no help through here.
While residents like Wells say they haven't seen assistance, the White House says more than $10 million have been provided directly to those affected by Helene. Wells also said she's wary of leaving behind what she still has.
We could go to the shelter, but I mean, it's like animals don't want to go to the shelter. Why do we? You know, and not to mention the fact that if you get away from your stuff a little bit, people are coming through and picking through it. And I don't know why they want to pick through it, but I mean, they are.
President Joe Biden visited the state Wednesday to survey from a helicopter its washed-out roads, smashed bridges, and downed power lines. He said earlier this week he may ask Congress to return to Washington to pass supplemental funding for aid. The White House said more than 3,500 federal workers are involved in response efforts in affected states. Former President Donald Trump, a Republican running against Vice President Kamala Harris in this year's presidential election, has falsely claimed that Biden has been unresponsive to the hurricane's destruction. Local officials have denied that allegation.